Hey, yo, it's Megamouth, and today we have some Nintendo Switch 2 sales data. Apparently, last year in Japan, the home country for Nintendo, they actually sold 3.7 million units, accounting for about, over half of all home console sales in the territory. And I guess that includes both the Switch 1 totals and the PlayStation 5 totals. So it's really good news for Nintendo. They've been going through a lot of hard times lately in terms of their stock price, and a lot of people are giving up on them because the RAM crisis, memory crisis, that's drastically going to increase the cost of producing their units of hardware. And so things have not been going too well for Nintendo lately. But finally, there's some good news coming through for them in the home country. Now, the Nintendo Switch, the original one, did sell at least 1.5 million extra units last year. So the original Nintendo Switch 1 continues to creep ever closer towards the PlayStation 2's lifetime sales total of 160 million. I believe the Switch 1's at about 155 million right now. So it is possible if it keeps selling for another year or two, especially with indie game sales on the Switch 1, will keep it relevant. I think that actually is achievable for it to someday get up there. Um, right now, it looks like the PlayStation 5 sold almost a million. In fact, not even a million, down about 879,000 units last year. The Xbox Series X and S, somewhat surprisingly, still sold 31,000 units. PlayStation 4, I guess they're still making them, sold about 1,800 units last year. Now, the PlayStation 5 sales, they're still doing well in America and in the European region, but they were down 60% in Japan in comparison to the previous year. Sony's starting to go through some hard times. They're certainly going through some trials and tribulations, at least in their original home country. The Switch 2 has been doing really good right out of the gates. At least, the initial sales were good in all three territories: Japan, America, and the European Union. And they're slowing down based on a previous video I did. They're slowing down in America and the European Union, but hey, at least in Japan they're coming through in their home country. Now, Mario Kart World, it wasn't my favorite Mario Kart game of all time. Certainly not. Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart 8 still hold special places in my heart. Mario Kart World has been a much more divisive game, but even it, Mario Kart, the brand is just so strong. It still sold over 2.5 million units in Japan. And surprisingly, the kind of mediocre to bad, most people would say, Pokemon Legends CA, it still sold 2.5 million units as well. Of course, that was released on both the Switch and the Switch 2. Uh, Monster Hunter Wilds, um, that one was the top five selling game on the PlayStation 5. So that's the only one from Sony that actually, on the Sony platform, that actually made the top five. But Nintendo, they've been dominating, honestly, the top 10 in Japan for a long time. Um, in fact, I think there's another article I have here. Basically, for the 21st consecutive year, the majority of Japan's best selling games were on a Nintendo platform. So ultimately, you have to go back all the way to the PlayStation 2 to find a year where Nintendo was not the dominant party platform in Japan. And so ultimately, Sony, they've been having a very, very long losing streak in their own home country, which is very surprising because, the PlayStation 2, they had some good years after 2002. The PlayStation 4, uh, completely outgunned by, I believe it's the Nintendo DS and 3DS family of systems, along with, at various points like the Wii. Certainly not the Wii U, but, Nintendo, they've had some highs and lows throughout the years. And yet, for the last 21 years, they've still had the majority of Japan's best selling games in that territory. And so, ultimately, it's a mixed bag for Nintendo in the news lately. Um, in terms of what they're going through right now, I certainly don't think they're going to get into a position where they're financially insolvent or anything like that. They are still a profitable company. It's just they're not growing by leaps and bounds anymore, which is probably why the stock price has been going down in conjunction with the RAM issues and other hardware issues that are out there in the market right now. But ultimately, in terms of being a video game company, I think there are signs here that Nintendo is still in a very good position, both strategically and in terms of their finances. They said that they have like a $10 billion war chest waiting in reserve. That could easily get them through some bad times. And in terms of their actual video game sales, their hardware sales, they're still doing really good overall. So ultimately, I think Nintendo, even though they're going through some hard times right now, I think they'll still be in just a fine spot. This is Mega Mouse signing out. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.